Play and Trade Guitars is giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul to one of you. How to enter? Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars on YouTube, and we'll give it away when we hit 50,000 subscribers.
Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where of course we play it and trade it. Continuing our series looking at the best-selling Les Pauls from Gibson and Epiphone. Today, looking at a different flavor of it. We're looking at the Les Paul Special with P90's. We're gonna put it on the bench and take it apart, talk full specs before we plug it in and play it, of course. But at the top, we just want to remind you, if you're in the market for any new gear, please consider using our purchase link down in the description. You support our channel directly when you buy using our link. With that said, let's take this Gibson out of this Gibson box. I always love getting one of these, and get to work. Nice brown Gibson hardshell case. I will tell you, this is one of the heaviest cases I've ever felt come out of a Gibson box, which is surprising because the guitar itself should be a little thinner. Let's flip these latches and see what's going on. We'll get a first look at the vintage cherry Les Paul Special. The Les Paul Special is a beautiful guitar. It's just a slab mahogany body, so there's no maple cap on this guitar. Sports two P90 pickups, which is super cool. The Special had a bound fretboard. This one has a bound rosewood fretboard, which was an upgrade over the Les Paul Jr. with the single dog ear P90 pickup. This was a guitar introduced around 1955, and it was in production until about 1960. About halfway through, they made it a double cut. Check out our video on our original 1959 Gibson Les Paul Special double cut, which was awesome. But this is the single cut variety, which was introduced as an intermediate range guitar in the Gibson Les Paul lineup. You had Custom at the very top, the Les Paul Custom, followed by the Gold Top Standard originally, and then they introduced the Burst with those PAF humbuckers. This guitar never got PAF humbuckers. It always rocked the P90s along with the Junior, but this was an intermediate range and price guitar somewhere between the Les Paul Standard and the Les Paul Junior. So for full specs, oh, it's got a nice 50s neck too. I love that thicker 50s neck. Beautiful guitar. Look at those vintage styled Kluson tuners. These ones Gibson Deluxe double line stamped. Nice piece of mahogany. This is that vintage cherry finish, so you get a lot of that wood grain popping through. Let's head over to the bench and take it apart and talk full specs before we plug it in. All right, we're over at the bench, but Zach, get a load of this case. Feel this case.
Oh my God.
I just have to say, I've never felt a case this heavy. I'm actually curious to weigh it right out of the gate here. Error.
Wow.
All right. 13-pound case. That's wild. I mean, I guess we'll start with the guitar weight then, because one thing to point out is that this guitar without its maple cap should be a little bit lighter than a standard Les Paul. 7 pounds, 8 ounces means it's 7.5 pounds. That is a beautiful thing for a Les Paul to be so light. So let's start up at the top of the headstock. The Gibson inlay here, mother of pearl, this was an upgrade on the Special in 1955 over the Junior. They had this mother of pearl Gibson inlay, Les Paul Special screen on the headstock. You can see these Kluson style double line Gibson Deluxe tuners with the old buttons. I love those for that vintage vibe and look. This guitar was only made from 1955 till about 1960, including 3 years that were double cut versions before it was discontinued, and it took a long time for this guitar to make a comeback. Bob Marley famously played a Les Paul Special in the 70s when it was reintroduced, but the original 50s ones have obviously gone way up in value as collector's pieces, and a lot of people prefer this, not only the sound of the P90 pickups, which you'll hear in our demo, but the lightweight and rich sound that comes from just the slab mahogany body. So I'm really looking forward to plugging this one in. But as we continue down from the top of the headstock, we'll look at this rosewood fretboard. Another hallmark of the Les Paul Special is binding on the fretboard itself. Nicely aged, kind of a cream vintage white binding. Beautiful piece of rosewood on this guitar. You have the acrylic dot inlays. The Les Paul Special and the Les Paul Junior always had the dot inlays. Even though this was an upgrade over the Junior, it wasn't quite to the level of the Les Paul Standard with the trapezoid inlays. P90 pickups, that's old school technology, but people still love the way they sound today. And while the Les Paul Standard got an upgrade to those patent applied for humbucking pickups in 1957, the Les Paul Special did not. So one of the hallmark characteristics of the Les Paul Special are those P90 pickups and that P90 sound. As we come down lower, here's another staple detail of a Les Paul Special is a wraparound tailpiece. Wraparound instead of a tune-o-matic. And then you're gonna just get a beautiful look at the grain of this mahogany and standard volume, volume, tone, tone. Pretty simple three-way toggle switch here. And then, of course, on the back, we'll go ahead and open up the control cavities, take a look at all the electronics. The neck here is definitely a 50 shaped neck. So as a guitar that was introduced in 55, you'll feel a lot more thickness in the neck itself. I actually really dig that. So if you're into a thicker neck, Les Paul Special could be the way to go. Let's get the strings off and take this apart and take a look under the hood. I can't wait. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this stop bar, this wraparound tail piece, to get a better look at the rosewood fretboard and get some neck measurements. But take a look at the wraparound tail piece itself. So it's not really the most precise thing in the world. You basically have the stop bar that the strings literally wrap around, and there are no grooves or anything that keeps the string in position. Over time, as you play, you kind of wear grooves into these that'll kind of hold the string in your typical playing position. But it's not the most precise thing. It's not necessarily the easiest guitar to intonate, but it's kind of part of the charm and sound of the guitar as well. The only way to adjust a wraparound tailpiece is by height or these adjustment screws that are on either side. So basically, if you think of kind of a center point, you can kind of adjust either forward and back on one side or both and adjust the height, but you can't get a precise setup like a two-pneumatic bridge, which was first introduced on the high-end Les Paul Custom before the Standard got that as well. This guitar always retained its wraparound character and aesthetic. We have a nut at 1.71 inches, fairly wide. First fret at a hefty 0.87 inches, up to a 0.98 inches at the 12th. Like I said, no maple cap. This is going to be just a flat slab of mahogany, and the thickness of the mahogany slab comes in at 1 3/4 inches. Just under ½ an inch height on the bridge P90 from the factory, about a 1/4 inch height on the base P90. So these P90s are height adjustable, but it's done so through this spring system, unlike the pickup ring system of a humbucker. And so as I loosen these screws, you'll see them pop out. And you can see the whole pickup is popping up here with the springs under tension. P90s themselves have a plastic cover. Get a look at this kind of bar style P90 magnet, which really hasn't changed in a long time. So we have a rhythm P90 in neck, and we have a lead P90 in bridge. And if you look at this metal plate down in the routed pickup cavity, that's actually how it's secured. So instead of a pickup ring system where it's kind of floating in the cavity, it's actually secured to these plates that are installed. This is a short neck tenon guitar, and just that slab of mahogany, you can get a look at the routing as well. Flipping the guitar over, we'll go ahead and take off the control cavity cover. Taking a look inside, we have some Gibson pots, 500K orange drop capacitors, which is a nice touch, all hand wired. Looks nice in here. SP for special and pen down in the cavity too. As I turn the guitar around for initial reaction, I can't wait to hear the P90s. If you haven't watched our comparison of the Humbuckers versus P90 on those gold top Les Pauls, go check that video out too. I can't wait to see how these sound. Good ring to it, mahogany tone with this thick 50 style neck. That's a standout, so you've got to be a fan of the 50 style neck. I personally really like that feel. And it's nice and lightweight. It was 7.5 pounds, so far so good. Construction out of the box is flawless. They pleck all these frets, so that's a modern feature that you wouldn't get back in the day, but they use high precision plecking to make sure that all the fretwork is perfect. And then, despite the plecking, there's only so much you can do with the intonation, as we talked about with this wraparound tailpiece, but that's part of the charm. So why don't we head over and plug it in? Remember, if you're in the market for this guitar or any new gear, use our purchase link. It supports our channel directly. Let's plug it in. We're gonna start with some direct clean tones. We'll get a riff going and then fire it up behind a track with a Fender Deluxe Reverb amp today and let it sing. Let's get to work. All right, checking out the Les Paul Special today with two P90 pickups. There's no mistaking the bite and voice of a P90. It's got a great bass response. I love that neck pickup position on a P90. It's just beautiful, just hugs you like a blanket with a little bit of bite and a whole lot of body. And then in the bridge, that thing just comes alive and it's just so much fun to play. Whether it's clean or whether you really drive it with some distortion, it sounds fantastic. This is $17.99 from Gibson USA. This is the vintage cherry. Of course, they also make this in the TV yellow, which is beautiful. We'll be bringing you a look at the Epiphone TV yellow Les Paul Special as well. That one goes for significantly less, so it'll be a kind of a fun head-to-head. But I've got no complaints about this guitar. I love the 50s neck. It's a pretty thick 50s neck, even by 50s neck standards. And the looks of the guitar, the feel is beautiful. This one came out of the box perfect, ready to play. Drop a comment and let us know what you think of this guitar. Check out our other demos and let us know what gear you're in the market to buy. Remember to use our purchase link, supports our channel directly. Sign up for our Gleam giveaway, drop a comment. We love responding to all of you. Let us know what you're in the market for and we'll see you on the next demo on Play and Trade Guitars. Thanks for hanging out with us. This is always so much fun.